So I thought I'd share this with you guys. What you're looking at is the cable actuator for my black tank dump valve. And since I bought this unit used in April, it's 4 years old. The black tank was pretty stiff to operate. I had some hydraulic levelers added. They rerouted this actuator cable, kind of moved it, and it became even more difficult to operate after that. I was suspecting that either the cable was too long, because it's about 2 foot longer than the gray cable, or it was failing, or the valve itself was failing. And then on our last trip, I was having a lot of difficulty closing the valve, which normally this stem would be inside of this body. And I got about this far and pushed really hard, and I actually bent this aluminum rod over almost at a 90-degree angle, so it wouldn't go back inside of the sleeve. I had to bend it back as best I could by using the body of the sleeve itself as leverage and the handle, and I got it pretty straight. You can see that there's still a bend in here, a little S bend. You look real close. And you can also see that it's real shiny right there. That's because it really won't traverse inside of the sleeve. And essentially I had to use a dead blow hammer to get it closed, leaving our last campsite. Opening it was incredibly difficult, and so I wanted to replace this actuator cable. Well, there's two manufacturers. There's Volterra and there's Lasalle Bristol. Volterra, you can replace this cable all the way to the valve body and leave the valve body. Lasalle Bristol does not allow you to do that. They say that their gate valve and actuator cable is integrated as one and not replaceable. So I'm having trouble sourcing that entire valve and cable. I do have one coming. It's going to be just here in the nick of time for our next trip. And what happened is I actually ordered one from eBay, and they sent me the wrong thing. They actually sent me these two nuts and this handle, and not the entire valve and actuator assembly. So I had to panic and rush order another one from another vendor. It hopefully will be here in time. I went ahead and ordered the valve too, because I'm going to go ahead and replace the valve to see if it's the cause of my problem as far as the stiffness. It's a relatively easy thing to do. I say that now, but you have to dump and flush, etc. many times. But I wanted to show you that in preparation for that, or in case that part doesn't get here, I was actually able to remove the Lasalle Bristol actuator cable, even though they say it can't be. And it's really not much different than the Volterra mode. What you're looking at here is these detents slide in over the gate valve body and provide leverage. This set screw holds a block that's attached to the end of this cable housing and holds it in place. Sorry, this set screw holds a block that's up in the side of there right now for me to disassemble it. It holds it right about here, which is attached to this housing, which allows the actuator cable to move in back and forth inside of this housing, and it attaches to the valve stem handle through basically a set screw of a Allen wrench onto the valve stem, where you would normally even just install a handle. So, you know, I was thinking about it. I'm like, they're not going to re-engineer all their valves as to whether or not they're actuated with a cable or whether or not you just pull a handle on the valve stem itself. They're going to adapt their one and only valve to the two methods. So I figured I could get in there and take it apart. So I used a couple of screwdrivers to pry this open enough so that I could pull it off the valve stem. After I had loosened the set screw and pushed the end of the cable housing in a little bit, because I didn't want to open the valve and dump while I was here in storage. And then once I was there, I was able to get to an Allen head screw that is a set screw that attaches the end of this cable inside of this sleeve to the valve stem itself. And I'll go underneath the rig and show you that, because I also want to do that in preparation. If the part doesn't come or it's the wrong part, I can still go on my trip this weekend. All I have to do is lay on my back on the passenger side and dump, you know, the black tank as if it were a manual valve and handle. So I'll show you that in a second. All right, so here we are underneath at this Lasalle Bristol valve, and you'll see that actually Forest River on my unit used a gray and black tank valve combination that comes as one valve assembly. It's a Y connection, There's the gray dump right there. And they come into a Y connection, and Forest River didn't really have to, you know, bolt it in or anything. They just glue it in, and these are the original valves. So the two arms, for lack of a better description, that you saw on the end of the cable actuator, they slip over this entire valve assembly on each side, this side and on the back side, and they are what allows positive positioning, so that the cable can be pushed in or pulled out. Then the cable itself is attached to this little piece of aluminum block with this Allen set screw. So I had to loosen that set screw on the end of the actuator, enabled to get enough room to get to this set screw and disconnect the actuator cable itself. It's really just a, you know, hard wire. And that's where I had to pry these off after I had loosened the little block that holds the guide housing in place. This is the set screw that holds the anchor block for the cable housing in place that I'm referring to while I'm under the coach. It is the first thing I had to loosen so that I could slide the valve actuator body off of the valve body itself and then get to the set screw that holds the cable to the valve stem. And then back it off a little bit so that I can get to this set screw, and once I got to this set screw, it was very easy, and just release the actuator wire. And now this is literally just the valve stem, as if you would have a normal handle on it. And if I even had to, I could put a handle on it. I'm going to leave this one on anyway, just to have something to hold on to. The end of it is only large enough for that wire, so I can't really put a T-handle on there. But if I really needed to, I could thread something onto there, like a handle or something like that. Let's see. Oh, and I even tested this a little bit. I pulled just ever so slightly, and I will be able to manually dump, which I will need to do if I decide to install the new one when it's coming. Here in storage, I have access to a dump station and flush, so I can just lay here and pull it real easy. I can almost reach it without even getting down on anything but just one knee and reach up underneath the coach. So anyway, just want to show you that even though Lasalle Bristol says that their cable actuators are not replaceable and you can't order it, just that one, I do want you to know that if you get caught in a bad situation and that cable or its handle fails, you do have this option of getting up here and actually getting to the valve stem itself and operating it manually. Feel free to post up any questions you may have.